People in poverty have worse diets than the rest of the population. They eat more processed food, more salt, fat and sugar, red meat and less vegetables. This poor diet leads them to get sicker and die younger than others. Most people believe this is due to one of two reasons. Either people in poverty are simply unmotivated to cook, or they need to learn to cook. In this presentation, we're going to discuss the real reasons why people in poverty have poor diets. We're going to start by discussing motivation. Motivation can be described by a simple equation. Motivation equals incentive minus barriers. So you may really want to do something, but if you can see lots of reasons that would stop you, you may be less motivated to do that. Let's have a look at what might clutter up that circle and take away some of the incentive from you to do it. For middle-class people, generally the reasons that people don't cook are usually to do with taste and time. Time is an interesting one because although people say they don't have time, it's really much more about allocation of time. You may choose to spend your time watching that box set on TV rather than cooking, and that's a choice. So a lot of it is to do with preferences. Perception of time is also an issue. If you believe something's going to take you a long time, you won't even start it. Also included in time are the quick competing options that we have available to us, whether that's ready meals or takeaways. Then we move on to taste. So you may not be able to cook, although most people can, but also you may not be able to cook what you want to eat. And food preferences are relevant, not just because of what you will eat, but also what your family will eat. Again, in this section, competing options make an appearance because they can be very tasty, whether that's ready meals, takeaways, or restaurants. Now I want to talk about the barriers to cooking for people in poverty, because there are many more. We'll start with some of the psychological reasons. These include mental health. People on benefits may be 3 times more likely than the rest of the population to have mental health issues. We also know that people in poverty have much lower confidence and more social isolation. Now we'll go on to the cost aspect. First of all, the things we've talked about before are often worse for those in poverty. Food preferences, especially for children, may be significantly worse as they've not been exposed to other kinds of food. There's also a greater takeaway density in poor areas, so you're much more exposed to cheap and competing options. In addition, we know from research that people perceive healthy food and cooking from scratch as being more expensive. Now we'll move on to another key aspect of cost, the poverty premium. The poverty premium is where people in poverty pay more for goods and services than the rest of the population. There are many examples of this, for instance with energy costs, with the fact that small packets of things cost more per kilo than larger packets, that they may not have equipment. Do they have a cooker? Does it work? Does the oven work? Is it full of stuff because you have no storage? Have you got basic cooking equipment? And importantly, how much did you pay for that? There's a huge risk of waste, because if you haven't got much budget, you cannot afford to try new things. And are there even good shops nearby? Transportation costs to shops may be prohibitive. Do you have a device to access the internet? If you do you have data or Wi-Fi? These are just some of the examples where the poverty premium has a significant effect on cost. Finally, we have scarcity mindset. This is where people have so many things going on in their lives that they really can't think ahead. They can't think about what they're going to eat tomorrow. They're just dealing with today, and that means they can't plan ahead very effectively or plan things like bulk purchases in advance. One final thing that is worth mentioning is with all of these things occupying people's minds, sustainability, higher welfare and food quality are not major issues in their minds. As we can see, the big space that we had for motivation has been heavily cluttered up by all of these items. They're broadly grouped into economic, what it costs, psychological, how you feel about it, structural, things that are outside of your control, and practical, what you can learn. This includes information and skills. This explains why running cooking lessons is not a particularly effective way of changing people's diets when they're in poverty. These economic, psychological, structural, and practical barriers are the social determinants of health. These are the complex, interlinked, wider societal issues that influence our health and contribute significantly to health inequalities in the UK. Bags of Taste operates a comprehensive program that deals with all of these social determinants of health in order to affect behaviour change in our participants. Results include an 85% drop in takeaways, 40% increase in vegetable consumption, and 56% of participants report improved health by the end of the course.